Hey everybody, it's Kurt with Love in America. Listen, welcome to the channel. We are so glad that you're here today. And today I'm interviewing my friend Brian Davis, who is going to give us a unique perspective of how America felt to him growing up and how it feels today, and really how the diversity, how love in America brought him from where he was to where he is today, just like the rest of us. Hopefully, we've got some people around us that are loving us, some organizations that step in to love us, and some churches or houses of worship or what have you, where you can build community, or other places where you can build community and really feel loved and get helped along. Everybody needs help. Everybody needs people around them, and we need a country and a culture that is willing to love on one another, help each other. And so, with that being said, I'm going to let Brian tell us a little bit about his unique perspective and how he grew up. So, Brian, why don't you give us a little bit of a story about why I'm interviewing you today and why your perspective is so different?
Sure thing, Kirk. Hey, first, thanks for having me on, man. Just want to encourage you to keep up the great work with this project. We need some love in America. But for me, I grew up Nashville, Tennessee, specifically South Nashville area. Now, when I grew up in Nashville, which was late '80s, early '90s, um, it's not quite like it. It wasn't quite like it is right now. Which 12 South area is one of the richest areas in Nashville. But when I grew up in that area, it was predominantly just the hood. It was a lot of things that went on in that neighborhood. It was, of course, drugs and um, people fighting all the time. But one of the things that I had as an escape was sports. And but growing up in the neighborhood, we were kind of a closed-minded group. We just kind of knew the South Nashville area. We knew that there was other people in Nashville at the time that lived on north, east, west side, on the other sides, and we kind of knew each other because of sports. But a lot of people that grew up in the inner city grew up in a quote unquote hood like environment where it was pretty bad. But now, of course, it's not like that. Okay, it's changed tremendously. When the Titans came in 1999, that began to bring money into the inner city. Those old homes were beginning to get built up, and people started moving in from everywhere. And it's just amazing now how Nashville has changed from a small town city to a big town city. Now, my perspective on growing up on Nashville is a little different. I didn't know that Nashville was known for being Music City until one time I went to California with a friend of mine, and I told him that I was from Nashville, and I told his friends that I was from Nashville, and they said, "Oh, Music City," and I said, "Well, Music City is just Nashville. I live in the south side of Nashville. What's the big deal?" Because I had this closed-minded mindset. It's just, all we do is hang out with people in the neighborhood, and that's it. But as I got older, I began to realize that, okay, that's a big deal. Nashville is considered Music City, and then there was other people that I met outside of Tennessee where I'd say, well, yeah, I grew up in Nashville, South Nashville, in the hood. And they would say, oh, you're talking about Memphis. I said, no, I grew up in Nashville, Tennessee. And it didn't register to them that, Nashville actually had inner city bad parts that were not so good. Everybody knew it outside for Music City. But for me, it was an awesome experience growing up because we grew up in a neighborhood where guys were just trying to make it. We were just trying to make it. We didn't think much about college. College was at the bottom of the list. We just wanted to get good jobs. We just wanted to survive because when I grew up in South Nashville, there would be like shots fired at a car wash or shots fired at a gas station, and it never hit the news. It would never be on the news. Of course, the news outlets were limited then, but you would just hear of all kinds of things going on in the neighborhood, and it would just kind of be like, well, it's happening again. Here it is again. But of course, things have changed, and I am so thankful that it has changed in Nashville because once the Titans came, that brought in money. Of course, now we have a soccer stadium. We have so much things that have changed, which we call it gentrification. The dynamics of Nashville has changed tremendously, and I am grateful for that. But one way that I have experienced love in America is by the simple fact that I am a very diverse personality individual. I just made that word up. I don't even know if personality is a word, but you know what I'm trying to say. I have never been one to see skin color, even though I grew up in a predominantly black neighborhood. I'm gonna give you this one story real quick. My mom, when I got home one day off the school bus, and I told my mom, "Hey, mom, there was this fight on the school bus. It was these kids, everybody was fighting." And my mom said, she said, "Really? It was a fight?" She said, "What color were they?" And I don't remember this, but she said, "Yeah, you looked at me and you said, 'Why does that even matter?'" And I went in my room and I shut the door in her face. And but my mom told me from that point she would never talk to me about color. She would never talk to me about politics. She would let me figure out my own way and how to grow to be my own person. So with that being said, for me, my experience on Love in America is a little different from most African Americans. I just believe that when you know who you are, you don't see color. When you know who you are, and let me be very specific. As a Christian, when we know who we are, you don't see these colors, these boundaries, because I believe that's what Jesus came for. He came to tear down these boundaries, and that's one part of being a Christian. And there's a lot of times you can't see those boundaries torn down if you don't know the Lord. But anyway, moving forward, I'm thankful to just to be on here. And the way I've experienced love in America is basically just seeing a diversity of America. The song "Colorful Place" is so perfect for me because it fits my American experience. Growing up in a predominantly black neighborhood, but yet the schools I went to were very diverse. You had everybody from every color, every background. I love foreign languages, at least trying to learn the greetings. Many foreigners, they laugh at me because I destroy the language when I repeat it back to them. But I do the best I can. But anyway, that's a short version of my experience of experiencing love in America. Although I grew up in the hood, I now live in Mount Juliet. Just thankful to God to be able to experience the low side and the high side. That's the way I'm gonna put it. So.
Amen, bro. Hey, well, listen, I tell you what, Brian, you are a blessing. You are just an excited light, and people meet you. God has made you in such a way that when you greet people, they get energy off of you. When you open yourself up to anybody, they feel it, they know it, and it draws them to you. And just like when we first met, I was like, okay, that's a guy I'd like to get to know. We met and you were, you just had a hunger for life, a hunger for God, a hunger for people. And, there was no walls up there. You were just like, man, I want to get into this life and experience it. So I'm grateful for you. Uh, you know, One of the great things here is that I'm hearing this idea of the fact that you opened yourself up to a bunch of people and you didn't close yourself off based on preconceived ideas about them, that really gave you the opportunity to experience love in America. And that's a great idea. That's a great thing for all of us here is that, if we can put the past in a place that says what was, we can't change that. But what we can do is be a part of working to make what is a beautiful place where people can really thrive and become everything that they were created to become. And I think that is the essence of America is we've got to keep the government off our back. We've got to keep the other things that hinder us, bad economics, all those things, so that we can all have an opportunity to thrive and to become the best that we can. So, that's what I hear in your story. So, yeah. So, if you were going to share a message to anybody in America about, how we can create more love in America, what would you say to them in closing?
Oh, in closing, a lot of times the misunderstanding comes from not knowing a person, the totality of them, their background, their traumas, where they come from, how they were raised. I do truly believe that God loves us according to all of us, our personalities, our everything within us, our history. And if we could just learn to sit down and have just good, healthy, intelligent conversations with each other, and we can understand where a person is coming from, we would probably have a different perspective on them. We wouldn't judge them as quickly. And I just think that would be so helpful. And then also, you got to want to hear their heart in the matter. You know, I can sit down and talk to somebody and listen to them, but am I really listening and giving thought to what they're saying? And do I really care about them? You know, so that's just a brief perspective on that, my brother.
Wow, that's fantastic, man. Those are great words, and I think, man, as human beings, we've been made so unique and intelligent, and so just have amazing ability to adapt, have an amazing ability to learn, have an amazing ability to understand, and it just takes application. It takes applying those things and working hard at it in order to become what you're saying, which is somebody who sits down, listens to them, listens to their heart, and wants to understand where they're coming from. And the beautiful thing about our culture is you don't have to agree, but you can hear, and you can, and hopefully they'll reciprocate back to you the same thing, and we can come to an agreement to just try to love on each other, respect each other, and their individual rights. That's what all these things we have are about, is individual rights. It's not a good thing to be silenced or to be discriminated against in any way, or marginalized, but it's important for people to be heard and to debate, and there is such a thing as dealing with truth, and all of our thoughts aren't true, and all of everybody else's thoughts aren't true. But it's when we get together and challenge one another in a healthy, respectful way, that we grow.
Yeah.
And that's really what is going to help us as a country to continue to grow love here. So those are my 2 cents on this, Brian. I want to say thank you for coming out today and just sharing this brief perspective on your story, growing up in the hood, kind of being isolated, and then realizing there's a much bigger world out there, opening yourself up to it, not seeing skin color, but just trying to get to know people for what they are and who they are and where it's taking you today. So I value you as a friend, and just grateful for you coming on today. So folks, I'd like to say subscribe to this channel, like this channel. We're just getting started here. We're going to be doing all kinds of stuff here coming up soon on all kinds of topics that are really important to Americans, that are going to be songs that we're singing and videos we're producing that are going to hopefully help a lot of organizations and people out there who are trying to address issues in America that people need love around. So again, thank you for coming out today. Thanks for checking out the channel. Have a wonderful, wonderful rest of the day.